Hey everyone, welcome back to another video. I made a video a couple of days ago about how Piers Morgan lied on air and continues to lie on air regarding Tommy Robinson. And a vast amount of people happen to agree with my take and happen to agree that Piers Morgan should stop lying. And it's unfortunate that Piers doesn't actually see the truth about who Tommy Robinson really is. But yet he's more than happy to have, once again, the likes of Andrew Tate, who has admitted on many videos what he has done, and he's being investigated in Romania at the moment for those things. But just because you say to somebody, oh, this is the Matrix, they're coming after me, just all that sort of stuff, doesn't make it the reality, okay? Just because I say something doesn't make it the truth. We've got to have actual tangible evidence and facts to prove something is right or wrong, right? Now, with Andrew Tate, it's quite clear that he has said certain things on videos that obviously the Romanian police are looking into as to the reasons why he said those things. I mean, you can be your own worst enemy at times, like if you say the wrong thing, own up to it, admit it, and don't say, oh, that didn't happen, I was just lying. Look, I'm not going to get into the entire Andrew Tate debacle at the moment, but it's interesting to me how the likes of Piers Morgan, Candace Owens, and so many other people decide to defend Andrew Tate. They love having him on their show. Why? Because it builds ratings, it builds reviews and all that sort of stuff. But we can't have Tommy Robinson on the show because Tommy Robinson would definitely rip Piers a new one for sure and expose Piers for his lies and the hypocrisy. And of course, Piers doesn't like that. Now, I'm not trying to make enemies here of Piers Morgan or anybody else. I'm trying to reveal the truth. As far as I can tell, and as far as I've looked at Tommy Robinson, I've listened to him, I've looked at all of his tweets and gone back quite a ways. And I'm sure many of you watching this have also done the exact same thing. You can't find anything that he said that has led to riots starting or anything of that sort. He's not a race baiter. He's not someone that hates Muslims. He's someone that doesn't want women to be R-worded in the streets. He doesn't want men to be killed. He doesn't want kids to be killed either by this illegal immigration crisis that is happening right before our very eyes. But the fact of the matter is you have this two-government issue on our hands where the UK citizens, they're the evil people for standing up for the truth, how they're seeing it, because they're the ones that are copying it left, right, and center. And if they have a peaceful protest, somehow they're far-right activists and far-right lunatics. Or if an old lady says something on social media that the government doesn't like, she gets 20 months, but yet a Muslim man that beats the crap out of a woman gets let off. That's the kind of issues Tommy Robinson is talking about, and quite well, I have you know. Now, it's also unfortunate to me that someone like Tommy Robinson can't actually step foot back into his own country without the fear of being arrested. If he was to step foot back into the UK at the moment, he would be arrested. Also, he's faced a lot of backlash, a lot of criticism from the establishment, from the government. Why is that? You may be wondering. Could it be that the government and the establishment are behind something quite nefarious? I mean, you're starting to see it on full display. And if no one can see it, open your damn eyes. Douglas Murray, who's a very smart, intellectual individual who I really respect and revere more than Piers Morgan, by the way. I love listening to Douglas Murray because he puts things the right way. He puts things straight. He sees things for the way they really are. He sees the truth for how it is. And he is a definite example of how you should talk, how you should explain things. And I'm trying my very best to explain a lot of the stuff that's going on in my head at the moment with regards to this Tommy Robinson situation and obviously Piers Morgan lying his butt off as well with not providing any evidence to back up his so-called claims. And it's rather dangerous. Because if you've got a platform like Piers Morgan does, with the amount of people that follow and watch him, and you're saying that Tommy Robinson is guilty of something that he's not guilty of, you're not only defaming that person, you're lying and making it very difficult for that person to actually get anywhere good or go anywhere good without having a great deal of people coming after him. You had a Muslim man, an angry Muslim man that had a key that was pointing towards Tommy Robinson like it was an instrument to do harm to him. And he came at Tommy Robinson, obviously talking about the mainstream media talking points, which a lot of blind people seem to do nowadays. A lot of people are sheep. They don't understand. It's like the blind leading the blind almost. Except it's far worse than that. It's like the blind is leading more blind people off a damn cliff. And if you say anything or if you do anything, like if you start seeing stuff, you're like, oh, no, you're going to be thrown off the cliff first. You're quickly over the cliff. Not like everybody else. It's going to be slowly taken off the cliff. We're going to grab you and throw you straight away. I don't know if that analogy helps too much, but nevertheless, I saw this clip from Douglas Murray's appearance with Piers Morgan. And by the way, Douglas Murray happens to agree with Tommy Robinson. I've heard him talk on Jordan Peterson's podcast about this, and he has nothing against Tommy Robinson. In fact, he puts it plainly. He puts it simply, like he's not doing anything wrong. In fact, he's trying to bring the citizens of the UK together. He's a hero in many people's eyes. He's an actual hero in my eyes too. Now, I'm not saying we should worship the man. All I'm saying is we should respect and understand that the man is actually standing for something and putting his entire life on the line for you guys, for the people of the UK. Now, have a watch of Douglas Murray talk about what's going on currently in the UK with all the riots, with the UK falling, with the government. And the government is, and same with the people too, they're always looking for someone to blame. There's always going to be someone to blame. But before you start, and this is like actually a massive slap in the face, or it should be a slap in the face to Piers Morgan before you start shooting your mouth off and start accusing somebody of something they actually haven't done. But just wait. Before you start accusing somebody of something, just wait and see who is responsible before you start sounding off. This is obviously for the riot that took place after a few innocent kids were killed by a black kid of the UK, not an immigrant, but obviously false information spread around, which again should sound off to Piers Morgan as, hey, don't lie, because you can get someone in a lot of trouble when you share false stories and false information about someone who is an actual hero in the UK. Just saying. But anyway, guys, have a watch of this 4 or so minute clip of Piers Morgan being ripped a new one by Douglas Murray when it comes to what's going on in the UK.
I think I know that the British soul is awakening and stirring with rage at what these people are doing. These people came into our house. Many of them broke into our house illegally. Many of them were never wanted here. I don't want them to live here. I don't want them here. In the UK, it's different. Our police force behave differently, and policing by consent and all of these sorts of things. But clearly they've lost control of the streets. Now, is it time to send in the army at some point? Probably yes. But if the army will not be sent in, then the public will have to go in, and the public will have to sort this out themselves. And it'll be very, very brutal.
Now, this was deliberately put back out to try and cancel you. And a lot of people, Alistair Campbell, all of the usual suspects, Mehdi Hassan and others, wanted you cancelled for these outrageously inflammatory remarks, which were not said while these riots were happening. Just to clarify, who were you talking about in that interview?
It's very clear. It was actually after October 7th. I said, why are we in Britain so stupid that we allowed people like former Hamas military commander in the West Bank to live in London? Why? What did we in Britain get out of allowing terrorists to live in our midst? Why is the former Deputy Prime Minister of Iran, who wrote the book justifying the murder of the British novelist Salman Rushdie, why did the man who wrote the book justifying and calling for the murder of a British novelist, why is he living in London? Why has he been living in London for the last 20 years? What has Britain got out of this? Why are we so crazy in Britain that we would give sanctuary to people who want our way of life over? And I've still never had a response to that question. I've asked it for many years, and I've written extensively about it, and I still cannot understand how a society can be so insane that it can welcome in people who want to destroy it. But let's park that for a second. The situation in Southport is, as you say, it's a very interesting example of what can happen with social media. I don't care about these agitators like the people you mentioned, let alone Alistair Campbell, who's a fascinating man in the projection that he is able.
I completely agree.
To do. It's extraordinary. He's a very bizarre man. The idea that we need to listen to Alistair Campbell talking about truth in public life is kind of preposterous to me and anyone else with a long-term memory. But anyway, I don't care about these people. They just go around behaving as bullies and then as victims. It's amazing. But the Southport thing is extremely important to linger on for a moment, because actually it goes back to something we were talking about earlier. Southport was such a heinous crime in an area where, unfortunately, we've got sort of used to terrorist attacks in some of our major cities. But an appalling, brutal attack like this on the weakest and most vulnerable target is something which so horrifies people that, of course, they scour around looking for people to blame. Now, we'll see when the trial comes up, if there were any motivations or, as it were, inspirations for this vile young man who did this. But I have to say, having covered a lot of terrorist incidents in my life, one of the things that anyone who's wise knows is just wait, and see who is responsible before you start sounding off.
The first bit that you guys saw is Douglas is speaking with John Anderson, who I also have a lot of respect for, him being the Deputy Prime Minister of Australia during the John Howard administration, and they were brilliant. They were leaders with conviction. And I really do miss the days where John Howard and John Anderson were running the country, because Australia was in a fantastic position. A really fantastic position, and then all of a sudden it was destroyed by Kevin Rudd, then after that Julia Gillard, and then it just fell apart. But we need more men of conviction, and Tommy Robinson is a man of conviction. Douglas Murray is a man of conviction. It's more than I can say for Piers Morgan, though, because I don't know where his conviction really lies. If you are saying that Keir Starmer is going to do good for the country, but then calls the actual citizens of the country far-right lunatics, that doesn't sound well or bode well for me in knowing that you have a real conviction, or what that real conviction actually is. So that for me is relatively concerning. But I do appreciate when Douglas Murray is talking about how you have all of these UK citizens that don't want all these illegal immigrants in the country because they're coming into your house and they're doing harm in your house. It's as if like you've let a fox into the hen house and that fox has run rampant in the hen house and you can no longer get the fox out. Once the fox is in, it's in. Good luck trying to get him out. It's the same deal for illegal immigrants in the country. Now, my stance on immigration is if you want to come here legally and you want to work hard and go through the due process, by all means, you're welcome. If you come here illegally and you bring about your own philosophy on how you're going to live here, you don't follow the rules, you do horrible things to the citizens of this country, you do not deserve to be here. You should be kicked out, effectively speaking. Get out of our country, go back to where you came from. We don't want you here. If you come to this country, you come to this country with the knowledge and with the respect. We shouldn't have to respect you if you don't respect us, because we were here first, you were not. So go through the due process, please, and do the right thing. That's what Douglas Murray is talking about, which is also what Tommy Robinson is talking about too. He's exposing the corruption. There's so much corruption in our world today, and it's really concerning. So much corruption. I think Piers Morgan knows that there is a lot of corruption. Does he care? No idea. Douglas Murray, on the other hand, certainly does care. He's been pointing it out for ages. Tommy Robinson certainly sees it. He cares. Jordan Peterson, I've noticed, he cares a lot about this corruption. There's only so much you can do. I understand that. But if you, and this is what the government is afraid of because they know how corrupt they really are, they don't want to lose power. So when they see someone like Tommy Robinson pointing out the issues with this corruption, they don't want anyone like that. So they will try and remove that person from public life, having a voice. They will create all these falsehoods. And my goodness, has it been working for them? That's what corruption does. Absolute power corrupts absolutely. That's what's taking place. If you can have a peaceful protest with over 80,000 UK citizens and have no riots whatsoever, that's saying something. But when you've got illegal immigrants or Muslims yelling and screaming, jumping up and down, ranting and raving and all that sort of nonsense, saying they're going to burn down police stations and burn down the city after their people did the wrong thing, sorry, that's not going to fly. That shouldn't fly. But then when the government is so corrupt that they don't stand for their actual citizens, they give everything to the illegal immigrants, you've got another problem at your hands at all as well. Now, the last bit that I want to talk about is when Douglas Murray mentions we send in the army. Eventually, it may have to get to that point, but we hope not. A lot of the citizens think that if it doesn't clear up, if it doesn't work itself out or fix itself out, then civil war. We don't want to see that. Here in Australia, we've got a similar problem with letting in so many terrorist sympathizers from Gaza. Like no other country's doing that. For whatever reason, Australia's doing it. We've let in over 3,000. All because Penny Wong and Albo have got no spines. They're just, we need to be compassionate. And they attack Peter Dutton, the opposition leader, for saying, no, we don't want these people in here. We should do more background checks before we let anybody in. Like, Australians are already struggling as it is, and yet you want to let in people from overseas in Gaza, for goodness sake. You don't know who you're letting in. So anyway, like, people that are trying to sound the alarm on this, they should be listened to, like Tommy Robinson. If I'm wrong, I'm wrong, but I don't think I'm wrong. Anyway, my friends, you guys take care. You be blessed, and I'll see you all in the next video. And also, I don't think Douglas Murray or Jordan Peterson are wrong either.